Kamala Harris has continued doing interviews this week, and I don't know why she's doing them anymore. We're not learning a single thing from them. The Vice President sat down with Local 4 News in Washington, D.C. earlier in the week, and she still does not have an answer on the economy.
What's your message to Michigan voters in terms of the economy? We have auto workers who are being laid off and those who fear that they might be laid off. The average person can't afford groceries or their rent. And recent polls in Michigan show that Michigan voters believe that Donald Trump would do a better job with handling the economy and bringing jobs back. What do you say to that?
Well, let's start with this. I come from the middle class, and I'll never forget where I come from. My mother worked very hard. She, by the time I was a teenager, was able to save up for our first home.
That's it. That's her strategy, that she grew up a middle-class kid.
That's her answer to everything. You know, it would just be easier for Kamala Harris and the campaign if they just pre-recorded that answer, right? Middle-class family. I was born in a middle-class family.
Save her time.
No plan. She absolutely has no plan. She has no vision. She has no agenda. And now you've noticed that the Kamala Harris camp is putting out these last-minute, these last-ditch efforts to try to appeal to certain groups and mentioning things like the economy. So at the same time that Kamala Harris is pandering about giving loans to Black men, that's her new thing, right? Promising moms that they're gonna, new-time moms, first-time moms are gonna pay for things for us. What, you're gonna pay for my new baby stroller? I don't think so. Where have you been for the past 3.5 years? You didn't care about me. You didn't care about the Black community. She also wants to tax unrealized gains, raise taxes, increase the price of homes. I mean, for my generation, the millennials, we see right through this. We can see right through her. Zero vision for the economy. Again, zero plan. Her entire economic plan is just a bunch of word salad. It doesn't make any sense. But why would we be surprised? She's never spoken to these issues of inflation or the economy before. She hasn't done anything of substance as vice president. And now she's trying to win a race on these last-ditch efforts, a race that she is so clearly losing. Donald Trump has perfectly laid out his economic plan. He has already said multiple times, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. He'll lower our gas prices, drill, baby, drill. And again, stark contrast to Kamala Harris, who really has given us zero plan, zero agenda, and zero plan on the economy and how she's going to fix crises after crises that she has caused.
It is such a stark contrast when you look at the way Kamala Harris and Joe Biden conduct themselves in interviews compared to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And I think J.D. Vance is really winning Americans over. Let's listen to him during his town hall with Newsmax.
Look, I think a lot of Michigan voters are asking, what are you going to do to make my groceries more affordable? And Kamala's response is, well, Donald Trump is bad. What are you going to do to make it so that especially for young people, what are you going to do to make it so that we can afford to buy a home in this country that all of us love? And her response is, J.D. Vance is a fascist. And what are you going to do to close down that southern border that Kamala Harris opened? And her response is, well, Donald Trump's voters are bad people. I don't think that this is a person with a closing message that can win in the state of Michigan, because it's clear she has no actual solutions for the problems that in many cases she played a critical role in creating.
He's so well-spoken. He's so articulate. You know, I think some Americans were a little bit skeptical about him at the start. He may have damaged the Trump campaign with the cat lady comments, but he's really showing Americans why Donald Trump picked him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's no lies out there about people not necessarily liking Donald Trump's brash personality. He can be harsh at times. He can be aggressive. So I think having a running mate and someone like a J.D. Vance, who just has more of a calm demeanor, he knows how to talk to the average American. He knows how to talk about issues. He knows how to talk to females and to males, right? And he's not telling the American people to vote on a single issue and vote based off gender, which is what Tim Walz does, telling them to vote candidate because she's a female and because she will support allegedly women's reproductive rights and that single issue of abortion. J.D. Vance isn't doing that. And another thing, J.D. Vance is putting himself in uncomfortable positions on uncomfortable networks. He's putting himself everywhere and anywhere that he can possibly have a conversation with the American people. So I absolutely think it's such a power team. And it's not just J.D. Vance. It's everyone that Donald Trump and his running mate Vance are bringing onto their team, bringing onto their squad. RFK Jr., who you just showed, who was just pictured there, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, this is an ultimate dream team. And I think the American people that may have not liked Donald Trump's rhetoric in the past and, are not a fan of some of his life stories there, sleeping with porn stars. I mean, I don't really think the American people care about that, but maybe haven't been a fan of his in the past. They see the people that he's bringing onto his team, that he has vowed to bring on as part of his administration. The transition team has already been working with these people behind the scenes. We already know that. And I think that's appealing to the American people. I think the diversity, I think having lifelong Democrats that have said, I did not leave the Democratic Party, right? The Democratic Party left me. That's an exact quote from RFK Jr., who took the stage at Madison Square Garden on Sunday. And he started his speech with that. I think that resonates with the American people right now. The American people that feel like they don't have a voice in their elected officials. And I think J.D. Vance speaks to that forgotten American out there.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Are you hearing that from many voters on the ground? Obviously, being in Australia, I'm seeing most of the commentary online, but I'm also hearing people say that, look, I'm not really voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for the people that Trump has around him. RFK Jr., Elon Musk, there's a lot of smart people around him.
Yeah, you know who we're hearing that from? People that have not completely lost their common sense. People who actually still want the American dream again. Because you have those folks that have such bad Trump derangement syndrome here in the United States that they cannot see past Orange Man bad. And I know we make a lot of jokes about this. I know on X there's constantly people putting out posts, making jokes and making fun. But it's really quite concerning that some Americans are not able to see behind the Trump derangement syndrome, and they're not able to get over and see past that and see the power and how massive this is, that we are having lifelong Democrats step away from the party and join this movement. And we have a movement that's Make America Great Again, partnered with Make America Healthy Again. I mean, the country, any country, is never going to be measured by its open borders, by its GDP, by the NASDAQ. It's always going to be measured by the health of its people and the opportunities to be full and happy and prosperous and be able to have the family unit, be able to have that American dream. And those are the values that the conservative movement right now that has, again, an RFK Jr., a Tulsi Gabbard, and Elon Musk promising to make us energy independent again, promising to dismantle these three-letter agencies. Vivek Ramaswamy that says not only do we need to dismantle these three-letter agencies, but we need to make sure that the people we elect to run our government are actually the ones running our government. These are people that are very wealthy on their own. They're not career politicians. And again, I think that speaks to the American people. So yes, the Americans, to answer your question, that still have common sense, that have not been completely brainwashed. Yes, some of them are able to sit there and say, I may not have supported the way Donald Trump speaks. I may not like his personality, but I support this team that he has, again, vowed to bring on, that he's already working with to make a lot of promises. And I support this larger vision of making America great. And I think we're going to see that reflected in the polls next week.
Turning Point Action official spokeswoman Caitlin Sinclair, love having you on Power Hour. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. God bless.